Mark Wilson here with AccuDock, and I am talking with Toni Martinez, longtime sculling friend of mine from Ashland, Oregon, and she rows with Rogue Rowing out on beautiful Immigrant Lake in Ashland, Oregon. Good afternoon, Toni.
Good morning or afternoon there, right?
Yeah, it's morning. It's morning for you, of course, and it's afternoon here in Florida. We're on West Coast, East Coast time, so good morning, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I've been out and rowed already this morning, so that's always a gift on our lake. It's wonderful.
Fantastic. And what we're trying to talk about with our little series here is kind of how clubs and individuals and different groups are managing this whole COVID summer. I know you've been impacted just like everybody else has in the rowing world. And tell us a little bit about some of the things that you had been looking forward to this year that were canceled there in Oregon or in Ashland.
Right. Usually most of the summer, some of us train for the Petaluma half marathon race. So that's really exciting for most of us to be training all summer for a half marathon race. Well, we don't all train, but about half of us train. And we also have head races in the fall. We knew that the sprint races were more or less gone because those happened early in the spring and everything was shut down. So with that, we were thinking, well, maybe we get to Petaluma, maybe we could do Boston, maybe we could do some of these bigger races. And they kind of shut down on us too. So then we have to think about what are we going to do next and how are we going to train. So getting back on the water was crucial. And we managed to do that in groups of 10. And we've been doing some preparation for head races just as if it were a normal cycle, because that's how racing goes, right? We're not going to start with what we didn't get to do. We're going to start where we should start in the fall or in the spring. So we've been kind of preparing for head races, even though there aren't any head races, and hopefully there'll be something virtually that we can apply our skills to in singles.
Excellent. That sounds good. What are you planning on doing, like the Head of the Charles virtual event?
Well, we haven't looked at that, but that would be really fun to do.
Yeah, they have a whole series of things, and there's some protocols and so on their website. So it may be the year where you can race the Charles in a single, or see how it goes. So maybe that's something that you guys would want to look into. So.
Yeah, we'll have to check into that.
Yeah. How are you doing with now moving forward? You know, the lake was closed and your boathouse was closed for a little while. Are you able now to get new people involved in the sport, or are you just working with folks who have already been rowing?
We're doing both, really, because as a club, a lot of people like to row in the big boats. So now if you want to row, you can only row singles. So that was a big jump for many of the people in our club. So part of everybody getting out is that they have to row singles. They can't row doubles unless they're a couple. So getting people into singles who have always rowed big boats has been kind of interesting. They don't like it very much, but it's a way to get out and on the water, and the water is what really calls you, you know. As far as new people go, we've been doing some learn to rows with new people. Of course, not the crowds we usually have, because we've limited to 10 people at a time per session. So we've been doing those sessions. I think we've done 4 sessions now, and they've always been full. So that's been good. It's one-on-one. Oftentimes we use our pontoon boats because we have an adaptive program that has pontoons. So we get out those old pontoons, and no matter how rough the water, we put them out in pontoons, and they don't know the difference. So it works out well for everybody but the trainees with them who do know the difference. So right. Just kind of act happy.
That sounds great. Well, I'm glad you're getting new people involved in the sport. That's really important. And I know a lot of clubs have been kind of struggling with that. You know, they have problems either with equipment or with lack of coaching or lack of members who are volunteering to help introduce those new folks. So that's great. Congratulations on that. Sounds good. What's the plan for the fall? Do you have any, besides the training that you were just talking about, are you planning any in-house kind of events or anything where you're doing maybe a time trial or something on your lake that would help people get into that competitive spirit?
Because we just changed our executive director to a head coach, he's still kind of scrambling a bit, trying to figure out what's going to work. So we don't really have a plan per se, but I think as the summer moves on a little bit, maybe September, we'll get something in order with enough of us suggesting things. I think he'll take that into underneath his hat and move forward with that. So hopefully so.
Good. I think that that's really the challenge. You know, we're trying to look outside the box a little bit as a sport. And I think there's
Right.
an awful lot of clubs that have a beautiful venue like your own, and then just trying to figure out, and obviously very excited rowers and people who want to have that competitive nature to the sport. So then just trying to figure out how to make it a little interesting and maybe a little out of the, you know, again, a little out of the box. But I've talked with some people who have said they were talking about doing a Henley style event where it's side by side, but, you know, kind of multiple flights of different people, but all just kind of using the same equipment, or doing some different events, meaning different distances or different routes, and then keeping track of time. So there's a lot of things out there to maybe you know, think about for as a club. You've been with, how long have you been with the club there, Toni?
This is my 22nd year.
22nd year.
No.
So you've got some experience there in Ashland, Oregon, for sure.
I do for sure.
That's great. So as you move beyond the fall, what are some of the things that the club might be looking to do? I know you typically have a kind of a winter training time. Are you hoping to do that as normal, or anything new with that time as well?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think if we can get into a little larger boats, that'll be better for us. But then, you know, we have water level shifts, so our water will be way down. And for the most part, throughout the winter, the water will remain stable because it's low in the lake. And the wind just kind of passes over the top of us, which is great. It allows for more rowing, although you're a bit in the mud to get out there. I think it'll still be singles and doubles only, which will deter some people from coming out.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that's going to go. I don't know, but I think that this last year's model was almost a good one, in that we did a lot more Zoom meetings, a lot more erging on, you know, within a Zoom meeting, which was really great. And it maintained some of the people, not all the people. You kind of got to be into that, but I think it may maintain more in the future. So we'll see. We have enough ergs that we could loan them out, and I think that certainly would be an option, and something more sustainable if we had more people that were involved with ergs and Zooming. And I think that if you're going to be tied into the house, I think, again, this year, I think people will move towards that. Pretty lonely when you're by yourself, you can't do anything.
It's pretty lonely when you can't do anything and when you're by yourself, that's for sure. So, and that is one of the big draws of rowing, is obviously is the social aspect of the sport. There's always the competitive nature and the athleticism, but also the social gatherings and having people be together, whether it be in a single or in a team boat. But that social atmosphere is certainly important. So.
Right. And even if you're right, if you're just out in singles, at least you're out, and you can say, like Alicia would always say, well, you know, sometimes it's just delightful to say hello to somebody else in the morning. And, you know, she would know that, being 92, right? Because that isolation is the name of the game at that age. So just saying hello to somebody in the morning is quite wonderful.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty great. Well, I'm glad things are going well in Ashland and at the row growing venue there on Immigrant Lake. I think that all sounds really great. And again, what we may be doing, Toni, if it's okay with you, is reaching back out to you in maybe 6 weeks or 7 weeks, and just kind of seeing how the fall has progressed or is progressing, and with this new coach that you just mentioned, seeing how things are going, and if he's got some he and or you as a board and as a group of adults there that have been rowing a long time, maybe see how things are shaping up in a few more weeks, if that'd be okay with you.
That sounds great. And we're just getting our adaptive rowing program that lingered a little bit longer, just because of fear of being too close to people. And they really need, adaptive people really need help at getting into boats. So we're just getting that going now. So I'll give you a report on that in 6 weeks too. That'll be great.
That would be super. That'd be great. Now, the other piece of your community there in Ashland, you've got two different younger populations that row as well. And one is your juniors program, and the other is the collegiate program that also rows off of your dock and out of your boathouse. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with them as well?
Yeah, the junior program is pretty stable in that we've been able to get them higher performance kids out in small groups, 10 almost every morning. And they've been going with a coach once we were allowed back on the lake, which they don't usually come out during the summer, but this summer they have. So I think that'll continue to go into the fall. And we just hired a new juniors coach to help with that, so that the head coach can do his head coach job. And I think that that's going to be okay in small group. I think they're going to have probably 3 coaches out there with 10 kids at a time, and maybe have to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday group and a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday group. But I think that that's going to work. The college is another issue. We did have a running program last year, but it'll depend on what happens with colleges with all the online data. I know kids still would love to come out to the lake, so we'll see. We're hoping for the best.
There you go. And that's where we'll come back to you in a few weeks and just see how that all kind of unfurls, I guess, if that's okay.
That sounds great. Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Toni, this has been wonderful and just perfect to chat with you and to check in on the West Coast and see how things are going out there. So thank you very much for your time this morning, and we'll check in with you in a few weeks.
All right. Sounds good. See you later.
Okay.
All right.